Hi everyone, I'm Simon Lam. You're watching AO Mecha Live.
Hey, good evening, guys, and welcome to another AO Mecha Live feature builder episode. My name is Ariel. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday night. Tonight, we are joined by none other than one of my favorite painters on our hobby, Simon Lam. Will be joining us tonight on our feature builder ep. Simon Lam. Let's see here. What can I talk about Simon Lam? Simon Lam has done a lot of work. You see him in the social media posting all kinds of amazing work. This guy just pumps out really good stuff. He is the first GBWC Canada winner, and that was in 2017. And I believe that's around the same time I met him. Since then, he's been very active in the local scene as well as the online scene with a lot of his amazing work. So we're going to be looking a lot about his work, his stuff, talking about like his workflow, his process. He also helped out in the Great Canadian Build-Off Event 1 that happened earlier on this year during the first, I guess, lockdown, first pandemic kind of like closures that helped most of the Canadians here do a nationwide event. Anyways, enough about me. Why don't we go check out what Simon is saying? Let's go. Hey, Simon, good evening. How's it going?
Hey, very good. How's it going? Thank you for asking me to be on the show.
Oh man, it's a pleasure, and thank you for agreeing to come in here. I'm sure we're going to be covering a lot of stuff that people have been asking, people wanting to get to know you with all your work, your processes, and whatnot. So before we go do that, I just want to say shout out to everybody on the YouTube live as well as the Facebook live session. Let's just see who's on the YouTube right now. YouTube, we got the Vince going on there. We got Gundam Meiser. And on Facebook, we have Quinn. We have Andrew. Let's see here. Still scrolling through. Lots of stuff happening, Simon, here. And again, we're going to continue monitoring all that stuff happening. Before we get too far, why don't we tell the world who you are about? What is Simon Lam up to? Like it's a little bit of your background. What's your day job? What got you into Mecha? All of that background story, if you could share that with us.
Wow, that's going to be a long story, actually.
Well, then, you have like maybe 5 minutes.
All right, I'll try to make it brief. Well, my day job, I'm a property manager. So basically, I work for a developer. They build condos and manage them. That's my day job. And after that, I'm pure gun player, basically, like Gundam all the way. I was born in Hong Kong. So in the 70s. So basically, I kind of grew up with Gundam, so to speak, because Gundam was aired in 73, I believe. So my entire childhood is spent with like animation, cartoon, comics, anything to do with Japanese animation, to be exact. So I build models, I do all the video games. Typically, an Asian boy, exactly what they're doing.
Very Asian of you. Like, what was your first video game? Do you remember what that was?
Boy, that was a long time ago. Back in the Arteria days, when you have the ping pong,
Yeah. Oh, wow.
No, hold on. I actually play video games before there is graphic video games. So there was what we call MUD. So there was multiplayer dungeon. That's its task based. You actually go through BBS and type.
Is it like D&D? Is that what it was?
But the whole thing is task based. So you actually have to type the command in. Like you type east, west, north, attack, and all that stuff.
Instead of using arrow keys. Wow. That is definitely a different time. In regard, you were talking about growing up with like Mecha and all that stuff. Do you remember your first love of the Mecha genre? Your first, hey, I like this moment?
Right. The first model I ever bought was the original Zaku.
Okay.
The one with the round shoulder without the antenna, the very original one. And it was back in the time when the model actually comes with a little tube of the cement that comes with it, and that's all you got to actually build the model.
Is that the one with the that's like you have to like lick it or something to like work, like almost like a bubble? I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly like those two. And that's all you got to have to build a model with. And back then, being able to finish it was actually the end goal.
Just to get it complete, like, and back in like obviously I haven't got too far back in models. Like, were the models back then like they snap fit the way Bandai does it like today, or does it require more glue? Because you mentioned
Hell no. Hell no. Nothing fits together that back in the days.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you get glue all over the place, and thank God they would actually stay put at the end of the day. And eventually, what happened is those glue back in the days was actually really strong.
Yeah.
So a lot of time you actually melt the plastics. You can actually melt the entire
The
joint with
plastic.
it.
Holy
Oh,
cow.
yeah.
So you have been around obviously the geek culture, nerd culture on that. Like, do you remember your first? I guess the Zaku was your first gunpla, but like, did you do also other mecha while you were experimenting and getting to know more about the sci-fi and mecha world?
Basically anything to do with Japanese animations.
Mhm.
Mostly Bandai stuff. So typically you have Gundam as one of the big one, and I also do battleships and tanks and cars as well. So kind of like a mix and match of everything when I was growing up.
Nice. We're gonna go ahead and let's go to the arena real quick. Here we have, we're gonna start doing our slideshows, Simon. This is just a compilation images from your Instagram, and you have been even more active on the online, posting your work, posting amazing paint jobs from both figures, mecha, and hand painting, airbrushing. You're pretty much a renaissance man. A lot of people have you've been following you, complimenting your work, and obviously admiring your passion here. So just circling back on our talk about the first kit, I have a photo here, and this looks like a Dom. This is your first kit with regards to Gundam since how long ago was this?
Well, this came about in 2016. So what happened is when I came to Canada about 20 some odd years ago, I stopped building model altogether because there wasn't I didn't bring my tools with me. So at the time my mentality was like, if I don't have the right tools, I can't do it right, may as well don't do it. And that has stopped for like 23 years until 2016. On my birthday, my wife asked me like, what do you want to do on your birthday?
Yeah.
And I go, I think I want to build model again. And so I actually pick up one of the boxes from my stashes that I've collected for years, and there you go, that's the Doom. This is actually done in non-stop in 48 hours. So I didn't sleep for 2 days straight.
Oh my
just
God.
to paint and spray it and get everything done straight up. And I loved it. And ever since then, I never stopped building.
That is amazing. The next scene here, and like the Dom looks great. I'm assuming you have that on display still to remind you of like, hey, this is your first coming back to Gundam.
I have dissected already.
Oh, no one is safe. No kits is safe from Simon. The next image here, Simon, this looks really a big contrast from that Dom we were just looking at to this stage. And I'm looking at the Sazabi. What can you tell us about this kit?
Right. This is shortly after the Dome, actually, because when I started back again in 2016, what happened is I just want to try everything that I used to know to see if I can still do it. And one of the big thing is called candy coating, because I told you before I built cars, and for cars, candy coating it's a big deal. So you have to get that perfect, smooth, glossy finish on a build. Now, for that to happen, I have to pick a kit that's nice, because back then I haven't built for 20 years. And people were telling me, you have to build the Sazabi. It's like the best MG ever. So I bought it, and I'm not disappointed. It's a great kit. Now, most of the problem I have is actually with the paint job, because to do candy coat, in general, what you do is that you put down a nice, smooth silver base coat.
Yeah.
And then on top, you start putting down a clear color, layer after layer, until you get the saturation you want. So you're putting down a lot of different layers. But what happened is, at the time, I was using Tamiya paint at the time. One of the things with Tamiya paint is that when you spray Tamiya paint, it's fine when you do a very thin, misty spray.
Yeah.
But for candy coat to work, you have to do what we call a wet spray. So wet spray, instead of doing a quick misty spray, that means you actually purposely put down a really thick layer of paint on top, so that the paint droplet will actually combine together and form that smooth, water-like finish that you see on a glossy coat.
That's
so
amazing.
I'm putting down a really thick layer of paint. So, but then it took forever to dry. so literally, I had to wait days before I can touch it again, or I'll put a fingerprint on it. But the
and
problem
that's the worst.
Yeah, you have to do multiple layers, because the Sazabi has 3 different red. So to get to the 3 different red, the way I did it is that I would put one red with 3 layers of clear red, one with the 6 layer, one with the 9 layers to have the different saturations. And to wait the 5 days in between each of the coat, it's a pain in the butt.
I could imagine. Quick question on this one. Does that apply only to the red, or did you do also all the other colors, like the black, the silvers, and all that stuff? The same process?
Well, the candy coat only apply where the glossy goes to. So it's just the red in this build. The red is just a normal metallic paint.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the biggest problem is when you don't wait. If you don't wait between, what happens is when one layer is still drying and you put a new layer on top, so the two layers don't dry at the same speed. So what will happen? They'll be pulling each other, and you get a result what we call the orange peel effect.
Orange
so it's
peel,
come out really bumpy. And this kit, I literally strip it down at least 5 times because of that.
That's crazy. Quick question here for you. This is coming from our Facebook Live. There's a lot more people here. I just want to take this time to say hi to these guys here. We got JB, we got Edson from Philippines, we got Nico Tejada Sanchez, we got Kaz, we got Ryan Lau, we got Xiao. Oh man, lots of stuff here. David Liu is in house. Robert Cortez. There's actually two questions here for you for this kit here from Ryan Lau. How did you fit it after all those thick layers of paint? Did you sand it all down like crazy before? And the other one, is that the Verka? Yes, it is the Verka. That was from Robert. But like, yeah, how did you fit with all the thick layers going on with this?
Basically, when you do candy coating, you actually have to, there's a lot of preparation beforehand. So first of all, you have to enhance all of the panel lining, because when you're putting down like 10 coat of thick layers, it's actually going to blow out all the panel lines. So you won't be able to do the panel lines after you have finished the paint. So typically what we do, we actually rescribe every single panel line to make sure you still have the panel line at the end of the day. The other thing is, all the joints, you actually have to sand them down a little so it's more loose.
Yeah.
Before you paint it. So once you paint it, it's not going to be butting on each other and cracking the paint.
Nice. All right, let's. Why don't we go to the next ones? Continuing on with the red theme, and I think these are on the same time I met up with you. This is now circa 2017. GBWC
Right.
2017. Your red Zaku. I have it. I have your work in progress pick here. What did you think about GBWC? What was the road to GBWC like for you when you were preparing for it with this project?
It was a rush basically, because I only find out there is such a thing called GBWC for Canada 3 months before the deadline. So because when I was in Hong Kong, the only thing that was around was Baku competition. There was no GBWC back then. So now I find out there's GBWC here in Canada. I want to try it, but I only have 3 months. So I kind of have to come up with something that is fast enough that I can just finish it in 3 months.
Yeah.
And luckily, that year it was actually delayed, postponed. The deadline was postponed. But when I finished the kit on that line, it was just the Zaku itself. There was no base for it. But because it was extended, I actually had the time to finish the base after that.
And we have a couple of images that we're going to cycle through. This is now the red Zaku. Lots of details here. Like, can you tell us briefly, like, what are some of the parts and techniques you used to apply on this project?
Most of them is kit bashing from a GPO tool. Because I only have limited time, so I cannot really do a lot of modification on it. But one thing about my build, the way I build, is that I like to create something that it's probable, that is possible. It could fit in the timeline in the original Gundam universe. So I actually spent quite a lot of time doing research on why would a GPO2 cannon goes on as a
side mount kind of.
Yeah. So I built up an entire background story before I even start the build. Because when you see, that's the thing, when you enter a competition, you kind of you want to find something that's kind of rare, that a lot of people, that you don't see it every single day. So for me, I look into MSV, and Johnny Raiden was one of the famous pirates back then, and then I start to dig in deeper. At the same time, there's this comic called Return of Johnny Raiden, and I was reading it, and they talk about what he actually did. Like, he at one point served a secret operation, like it's kind of like TTT from AOZ, but it's for Xeon. So it would make sense if he actually get his hand onto like a nuclear weapon technology to test it out.
Yeah.
And then I actually looked into the timeline to find out Stardust Memory 0083 actually is within the same timeline where Johnny was actually working for Chimera. So everything just falls together, and like, perfect, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So that's how the whole concept came about.
Now, when you entered because of the extension, you did not go to the physical event at Montreal at that year. You actually entered this one in the online competition, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and when you found out that you've placed for Canada, what was going on through your head? Like, how did you receive the message, and then what was your initial reaction and feeling to that?
It was unreal. I did not expect it to place at all, because I only have 3 months to make it happen. And at the same time, I was actually watching the other countries' competitions as well.
Yeah.
And the build that came out from the other country, it's completely like they're insane. We're not on the same category. So I have absolutely no expectation whatsoever when they actually told me, hey, you placed, you actually won. It's like, no way.
So that was a big shock for you. And how did your wife think about that? Like, obviously she encouraged you to work on your kit, on your first kit back. Like, what was she thinking or what did she say to you when you told her?
When I told her, she was like, yeah, you only got it because I let you build your model. I go, okay, yep, absolutely, credit to you.
That is awesome. Okay, the next couple of photos here, Simon, is your trip to Japan. I'm just gonna go through a little bit more of this. More of his stuff, follow him on his social media. The links to that will be on the description below if you want to see more of his Zaku. So we have Simon here with the Canadian flag representing. Thank you very much for that. And again, congratulations on your win for the first GBWC in Canada. What was Japan like? Was that your first time in Japan, by the way?
No, I went before.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was actually first time in Tokyo.
Okay. So we have a couple here. You got some your passes here as a guest. What did it feel like being in that environment with all these builders from all over the world?
It was amazing. Like, let's put it this way. They turned it into a show. Everything was so packed. Everything was so nailed down to the seconds. Like, they give you the itinerary. There's like 15 items that happen within like 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
And you can't even think about it. You just get bam, 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 get it done.
And during the event...
So I'm impressed.
Yeah, during the event, you obviously walked around, saw some stuff as well. And here's a photo with Meijin Kawaguchi. What was your interaction like with the Meijin when you were there?
Well, he has been a big idol, because it's like the god of model building, basically. So I was a little shy boy. I was actually scared to talk to him, to be honest with you.
Oh, wow. Did he speak with you more during the show? Did he impart you some of his wisdom while you were there?
Well, not a whole lot, because I kind of need a translator for that to happen.
Nice.
So I just asked him, like, what do you think about my model? And he kind of said his limited English, so there wasn't a whole lot I can get out of him. I wish I had more time with him though.
Awesome.
Which I had a second shot in Montreal.
Yeah, and you spoke with him then. Did he remember you on your next meeting with him?
No, not really. No.
Okay.
It's too bad.
All right, we have to try again next year. A couple of photos next here, Simon.
Exactly.
It looks like these are now your competitors. I think one of these guys is Choco Falcon's red custom, and I think it was like a custom Sasabi. The next one is the Zaku, and these are all massive builds. Like, I'm just going through some of the photos that you've taken from the show. What was the feeling like when you entered your kit? Because like we all saw what your kit looks like, very, very awesome, master grade. But that was it. Like, these guys are like, they're building buildings pretty much here. What was your impression like? What did it feel like seeing all these work there?
See, that was their problem. Like, when I first got there, the day off, they tell you you have 2 hours to set up your kit in the display case.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, 2 hours? Like, really? Like, all I have to do is open the case, open my box, put it on, close the door. I need 30 seconds, okay?
Oh my god. Yeah, we got a photo of you putting together your kit right now.
Yeah, I knew something was up. And then when I was there and I see this guy bring out the kids in suitcases, and I was like, okay, there's something different here. Like, their build are humongous. If you see the one from Ken, the one from Hong Kong, he bought 4 suitcases so that can fit his build in them.
Oh my god, that's the Starscream Transformer looking one with the figure at the bottom, right? Yeah.
It took him the full 2 hours to actually set it up. And I was
God.
just walking around looking at him doing it. And then the Mark, the champion from Philippines, he was actually touching up his diorama on the spot, building terrain with sand and rock and stuff like. And Lul, he's on the chat here. He told me that he spent hours the night before to half assemble his build so he can actually finish it within the 2 hours it was given to him. and I was like, I need 30 seconds. I actually tried to drag it over to get it done in like 5 minutes because they actually have to take pictures of you trying to set it up.
Yeah, promo shots, right?
Yeah, but then once I'm done, I closed the door and looked next to me. It was Kieran from Australia. He was just putting his gloves on.
Wow.
Like, okay.
Now that you have it all set up there, what did you feel like? What was going through your head? Like, okay, now it's there, it's done. What did you want to do after? What did you end up doing after?
I walked around and looked at everybody. I had fun in there. I have to say, I knew I'm not in the run. That's for sure. If you look at my picture, like the size, the display case versus my build it's a big contrast versus all the other build you see there. Like I didn't notice that because I was just looking at a picture before I went to Japan. But when I see the real thing, I know, okay, I brought a featherweight piece to a heavyweight championship.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So here's a picture, I believe, of your wife carrying your kit in a Pelican hard case here, and that was it. That was your case. That was the only thing you traveled in.
That was it. Yeah.
Oh wow, that is an amazing story. We'll just do a quick hello to YouTube, see what's going on there. A couple of more people joined. We got Kev Model saying hi. We have Captain Nate saying hi. We got Shelled saying hi. Dark Trinity. Let's see here. Nox Flight Cub. That's from Kyle. And S Tapai. Let's see what else we got going on here. We got Michael Rinaldi is in the building. He's saying hi as well, joining the show for a bit. And I think that Gundam Meister very lively on the YouTube. Guys, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in. We will try to get on that. Next up here, Simon, we are going to continue on, I believe, with your... Oh, there's one more here. This is like a... Did you go to a store or something? There's a Zagok custom.
Oh, okay. That I actually have to go to the department store in Japan, Yodobashi.
Yeah.
See it. It's the champion for that year for the All-Out Zaku competition.
Nice.
And
wow.
You look at it on picture, it looks... I thought it was an MG until I'm actually there. This is about the same size as a perfect grade.
Wow, so it's a full custom. Was it 3D painted or was it just a kit bash?
It's a kit bash, and most, I would say at least 60% of it is actually scratch built from the guy.
Oh wow, that is a lot.
Yep.
Nice. And there's a photo of you with the unicorn. Now, my question for everybody that has gone and checked out the Gundam: did you touch it?
No, we were not allowed to touch the unicorn.
Oh, come on!
The barricaded off.
Oh, you should have jumped in there at nighttime. Take a nice swat of like metal and hug it. That's what I would do if I ever go there. You have been warned. It's not even a threat, Japan, at this point. It is a promise. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we're going back. That's for sure.
Nice. And what was it like looking at this 1-to-1 scale unicorn? What was your first impressions of that?
It's amazing. Something that you knew from your childhood. It's actually right in front of you. The real size, 1-to-1. Next thing I look at the decals, see if there's any silver lining there, if there's any seam line. Yeah.
Yeah. So there were. Did you? What was your grade? If you were to grade us out of 10, what would be Simon's judge grade for this out of 10?
The unicorn, I would give it an 8.
Oh.
Because I heard the grandpa RX-78 before it is actually better.
Ah, interesting. And where did it lose points? Give me like 2 points. Where would it have lost points on?
You can actually see the decals.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The silver lining is there.
Did you check under the skirt too and check out the details there?
I looked through the whole thing. I even zoomed in just to make sure that I didn't miss anything.
Awesome. Okay, now fast forward 1 year. You're the current champion at that time, 2017, for GBWC Canada. You decided to enter it again to defend your title. Right here on the photos, we got your custom Psycho Gundam, but it's not really a master grade or a high grade. So, from my understanding, the Psycho Gundam was a high grade, a combination of a high grade and a perfect grade.
That's right.
What can you tell us about the build? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I've learned from my 2017 trip is that size matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to pick something that is big enough that gives you that wow factor when you enter a competition. Makes sense. So I look at the powder stash I have, and I see that I have a perfect grade grandpa sitting right there.
Nice.
And what kit would I really like to build that Bandai is unwilling to make a master grade?
Yeah.
And two things come to my mind is either the Big Sam or the Psycho Gundam.
Oh wow.
So and then immediately I thought Psycho Gundam and the perfect grade grandpa would work perfectly together. So I basically took the skeleton from the perfect grade grandpa and then put the Psycho Gundam, the skeleton, the outside, the armor on top of it. Now the problem with doing that, because the Psycho Gundam is a pretty big kit as an HG by itself, but it's still about 2 centimeters shorter than the perfect grade grandpa. So the armor will not just fit. So what I have to do is each and every single armor that I took away, I actually have to extend it so that it will actually fit onto the skeleton of the grandpa. For example, the chest part, I have to chop it in the middle and actually add another centimeters just to make it fit.
Oh wow.
The other thing is, like, what I find out, the skeleton of the grandpa, the proportion is kind of outdated. It's a little stubby, so he's got short legs.
Yeah.
But people are so used to looking at the unicorn nowadays where they have the super long legs, right? So the proportion doesn't look right to me at this point. So I actually have to extend, and I have to change up the entire proportion altogether. And I end up adding about 3 centimeters to the legs. That was the major operations, because when you have to add that much, like, that much length to the legs, you cannot just do it in one spot. You kind of have to do it in 3 separate spots so that even things out.
Wow, that's a lot. Quick question here. The next slide that I got here, Simon, there's a goof, and it looks like a high grade goof on this one, because you're still within the high grade scale per se, right? Like it's
Pretty
just
much,
like the Psycho is just on a PG frame, but it's supposed to be to scale to a high grade. Now, did you originally intended to do 2 kits for the entry?
Not really. I was only intended to do the Psycho first, but then I realized I'm going to enter online again.
I see.
So I'll be taking pictures only. So it's hard to show that this is a big kit from the picture, because
without
like
a scale
for the MG that you can exactly. So I need something to give it a perspective of scale. So I done up the goof and put it in the same picture. But then I have a new problem there, because the Psycho is so tall, it's almost 2 times taller than the goof. Like it's hard to put 2 to 2 in the same photo. So I actually have to create another platform, which is the base jabber. So that make the goof sit on top and it's flying, so it's about the waist level of the Psycho, so I can actually fit them, frame it into the same picture.
Right. And that's technically like 3 items now. Like I'm talking about 3 separate unique items. You have the Psycho Gundam, you have the goof, and then you have the jabber on this one. Good stuff, man. Man, I could just imagine like that creative process. Like, I'm gonna do this. No, it's not done yet. I'm gonna do this, and it's just kind of like steamrolled, eh? It turned out really well. I got a couple of glam shots from your Psycho here. Lots of details. And here's a shot of the diorama. Now it looks like you have the Psycho standing over a bridge. Is the diorama originally also part of your design, or was this also kind of like evolved as you continued working on it?
It's evolved as I continue. So I start picking up stuff. When I create the diorama, at first I wanted a desert scene, but then it's pretty plain. It's just a desert scene. So there's not a whole lot of things you can put in the middle of the desert. So I kind of look into, I went to a train store.
Yeah.
And the bridge actually come from a train diorama originally. So what happened is I took a perfectly nice bridge and then recast it into plaster, and then I can break it down. So make it like kind of like a ruined bridge.
I got a couple of photos here right now of your base jabber. Holy cow, this is detailed. Is this the first time you did a vehicle? Like of a sci-fi vehicle? Because like all the other ones I've seen you done so far have been just the mecha itself.
Right. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. It is the first time I do a vehicle out of it. Yeah. And another fun thing about this, the base jabber and the goof, the normal version, and I actually paint them both in Bandai color.
Oh, nice. Yeah, variation. Really good stuff. Yeah, no, the diorama went really well. It's very, very like visually stunning. Lots of details. Is this the first time you've done diorama as well?
Well, I've done smaller one before when I was doing tanks and battleship and stuff like that, but nothing to at this scale and size.
Wow, very impressive. All right, let's do a quick break. Let's check out what's going on with our Facebook Live. Lots of people happening here. We got Kayla joining us. We got Nate. He's saying, what's up? Great story. A lot of stuff. Nico is definitely following it. Love the story. It has decals. LOL. Ryan Lau here. Yeah, it's a masterpiece. Such work and such nicely executed. And then David Liu, can't wait to see 2021. Is Simon Lam entering 2021? Is that what's happening?
Oh yeah, for sure. You can count on it.
All right, let's pop out a bit real quick. We got some questions for you, Simon. So with all that stuff, the mecha stuff, the GBWC, there was a question here from Ryan Lau. What mobile suit aesthetic are you most drawn to? Thick bulk ones, slim agile ones?
Mostly if you look at all the builds that I did, probably you can see it already. I like Xeon builds. I like a build with curves on it. So the more rounder shape, like the dome, the grooves, stuff like the old, those are the thick builds are my type.
Nice.
And I'm very unique to UC, so I'm kind of old school.
Old school UC, love it. Next question here. What are your top 5 tools you can't live without when it comes to modeling Gunpla? Or modding Gunpla?
Oh boy. Now, first of all, the most important one would be my magnified visor.
Okay.
I'm getting old, so I can't really do anything without them. Now, when you do a lot of mod, obviously we have to scrap a lot. So scrapping tools is now the thing I use every day.
Yeah.
And when it comes to scrapping tool, you do get what you pay for. So you get a good one that gives the quality and longevity. After that, I would say photo etch saw. So when you do a lot of customization, a lot of time what you want to do, you have to separate parts, you have to cut them into pieces, and you have a nice thin photo etch saw where you can actually do a thin cut, because regular saws actually takes out too much plastic, so you're missing almost 1 mm or 2 mm worth of plastic using a normal saw. The photo etch saw actually do a very fine line. When you separate the two parts, then you have a good chance you can actually put it back together perfectly
without causing too much damage, right?
Exactly. And other than that, I would say, because I've been doing a lot of painting, hand painting lately, a wet palette. I'm not sure people know about it, but if you're going to venture into hand painting, invest yourself. Either you can DIY or get a wet palette. It actually helps you, like it makes like night and day difference when you do your painting.
Awesome. Wow, there you guys go. Top 5 tools from Simon on this. Let's go back to the presentation real quick here. Speaking of hand painting, that is a perfect segue actually, Simon. To your next project here, we are looking at you've done Gundam, you've done Gunpla, lots of good stuff, creativity, but it looks like you are also spreading your wings to other stuff. Right now, the next couple of segments we're looking at for the photos would be your work on other mechas. So right now, 5-star story, hand painting. What's the story here? How did you get started with this?
Well, I started painting. I started hand painting after 2018 GBWC, because I was looking at the competition build and asked myself, like, if you try to compete with them on the technical aspect, like you can get up there and be as good as them. But what would set you apart from the other builder? And one of the things that's huge in North America is hand painting miniatures figures. So I was trying to venture into that and try to study and see what I can bring that into Gunpla. And I was painting for almost a year. I'd actually stopped airbrushing. I was just hand painting for almost a year before I feel comfortable enough that I can try to hand paint a large size Mecha topic. And this is what I did here. Typically, I try to create like a watercolor approach when I'm using acrylic, because what happens is acrylic paint is very transparent. So I figure, if I want people to be able to tell that this is actually a hand-painted project, so may as well do something that airbrush cannot give me. And to paint a Mecha like a watercolor approach is something that you probably won't be able to recreate on an airbrush. So that's what I did here.
Do you think that with hand painting, obviously you'll be able to get more details out of it, like things like tight corners, tinier places? I mean, that is the advantage of hand painting. Like, what do you think was the struggle though by using hand painting?
What it's actually good because the transparency is also the problem. Because it takes forever to build up the color. Because typically what I did here, I painted with a very diluted paint, so it's really transparent. So to actually get the color I want, it takes about 10 to 15 layers just to get the color to come out. So instead of priming the build, I actually paint right on top of the plastic on here. So I'm actually using the color from the injection kit itself to help me build up the color I want eventually. If I primed it with gray, then it's going to take me even more layers to get to the color.
So you just build up directly off the plastic then. So the plastic you just get like applied. And did it stick? Was there any like sliding issue of the paint? Like what made it stick? I guess that's one of the questions probably people are wondering.
That would be where the wet palette comes in. So if you actually invest on a wet palette, what happens? You have the full control of how thick the paint is before you apply it onto it. So you can actually trial in some area to see what is the texture that is just enough to stick to the plastic instead of just forming a little water bead. It just slide off. Yeah. So you can try there. So you can only do that with the wet palette, unfortunately. So you kind of have to have that for it to happen.
Nice. And I know you like video games. You probably grew up with a whole bunch of video games. The next item here, Simon, Metal Gear Solid.
All right.
Metal Gear. I want to know how the story on this. Where did you get it? How did you get it? What are you painting? There's a lot of cool color combination and scheme done on this. Did you do any modifications? Those are some of the questions that are popping up in this next build.
Right. Metal Gear. Well, this is the only Metal Gear that I cannot pronounce.
Isn't this the Metal Gear? Okay, so guys, there are 3 things that is very, very hard to say in the world. I'm sorry, I need help, and Metal Gear cilantro some.
You're getting there.
Metal Gear, talk to me. What's going on here, Simon?
Right, Metal Gear. Okay, so well, I love video games, so I love the design and the Mecha design in the Metal Gear series. I actually still have the rest sitting waiting for me to get it built. Now this is a kit. The reason I built this one is because I was still at the stage I want to try it out with everything. So I did candy cold, I did weathering, I did clean build, I did modify, I did hand painting, and I want to try camouflage.
all in. So basically, what colors do you want to put on this? Your answer is yes. Do all of it. That is awesome.
So this whole build is about camouflage, and this design by itself has a really interesting, it's a really cool camouflage pattern. But after I start building it, then I realized how good Bandai kits are, because the snap fitting, this brings me back to the old days of the old Bandais from the 70s. Things don't necessarily fit together. So there was a lot of seam line work, a lot of repair here and there. And when it comes to the camo, the instruction actually gives you a sample pattern to do the camo, but it actually doesn't match what you see in the anime in the video game.
Question on this, Simon. What scale are we looking at for this, by the way?
This is 1/100.
1/100. Okay, great, great.
Yeah, so I actually have to go back to the video game and look at people's screenshots to actually see the camos on different section on the armor to be able to recreate it identical to what in the video game. So that took a while.
In the video game, was it digital print camo, or was it like a Army Marine camo? Because this is like a multi-purpose unit, right?
Yeah, it's a digital camo that's used in city battle, basically.
Nice. Speaking of camo, our next slide here, Simon, one of my favorites as well, is the Neo Zeal kit, and this is also a hand painted. This is one of your newer projects, I believe. I only saw this maybe a couple of months ago to fruition. Good stuff. Like what this is the different scale, obviously, altogether, right? Like this is not 1/100. This is like one of those
this is 1/400 or was it 450? I forgot.
Yeah. So what's what were some of your favorite parts in working on this different scale? Obviously now you're going even smaller with the details.
Now this is basically a pandemic build. I've actually been building a lot in the COVID situation. So I don't have access to my airbrush. So I have to hand paint this one. Now the difference between this one and the Bandor from the 5-star story, so that was more like a watercolor approach. This is what I call a stipple painting. So if you look it up, when you paint watercolor, there's a technique called stippling. So instead of actually painting with the brushes, you actually just get a brush and stipple on top of the surface.
That is crazy.
Slowly. So you just keep doing it until you get to the result that you want. And I look at it and I say, okay, that's cool. I want to try it out, and it turned out really great.
Yeah.
Now, but then after I painted the kit, and then I realized I don't know if I lost it or not, but apparently this kit doesn't come with any decals.
So what did you do for the symbols?
Yeah, so I'm stuck here. I can't really go out and buy decals, so I decided, okay, maybe let's try painting it myself. And so I actually draw every single numbers, every single logo on it, but hand painting, and it worked out really well. That it's actually quite a pleasant experience.
That is amazing. Sorry, I'm just looking at this right now, and I totally forgot that you mentioned that. Did you do any masking, or does it directly just paint within the borders of whatever you drew?
This is typically freehand, because what happened is the acrylic paint is pretty fragile. So if I actually try to draft on top, it's just going to come off. I'm going to scratch paints. So I actually have to freehand right on top of the paint itself.
Wow. Speaking of freehand, this also came with a small Zaku for that. Like, wow, is that the smallest thing you've ever painted?
Pretty much, yeah, you're right. It is. Well, no, the characters from the Metal Gear was smaller.
Right. Let's go back real quick on that. I'm just gonna go back. There is a scale figure. If you look at the closer at the bottom there, guys, of figure for the Metal Gear build, and wow, so that's a 1/100 scale figure, which is smaller than the Zaku for the Neo Zeal.
Right.
Good stuff. Neo Zeal. Wow, amazing. Any major learning curves from this project?
Stipple painting. It's actually my first time trying it. I just looked it up on the internet and decided, okay, I'll give it a go, and it works out really well.
Nice. The next part here, Simon, your project, it looks like we're going back to some Gundams here, the Hazels. Attack of Titans. Advance of Zeta. AOZ kits from the Titans. What's going on? Why do you have 3? Did you paint all 3? What's going on here?
It was actually a teaching project, because what happened is at that point in time I was doing a lot of judging and competition. What I see a lot is that the people do a lot of kit bashing nowadays. Right. So they really change the look of the mecha itself. Like you start with A, you end up with B, and a lot of times when you do that, they forgot stuff like basic stuff, seam lines, your paint quality, your paint finish, and stuff. They just keep adding stuff to it. I just want to be able to show that if you just do all the basic technique, like do all the seam lines, paint it properly, do some modification like power plate and swipe lines, you can still get a very decent result instead of changing it altogether to something entirely different. So that's how I started this project. Right. And I liked it so much, I actually bought 3 of them. And eventually I'm going to finish it out of 2. Hopefully I have the time for it, but
I'm sure you will make time for that. Speaking of community, helping out the community, there's a lot of community involvement. Thank you for posting all your work in various communities. We are going to do a quick break, actually. We will be back with Simon after this. Stay tuned. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the stream, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the show so far. I just want to let you guys know about an amazing online community that I'm part of, and it's called SideSix. Here, you will find like-minded modelers and hobbyists who enjoy the mecha and gunpla genre. We encourage posting of whips, projects, and tutorials to help each other move forward in our hobby and in our community. We are always open to new members of all skill levels, so come check us out at facebook.com/groups/SideSix. We also have an Instagram where we feature members' works, and you can find that at instagram.com/SideSix_Mecha. For all new club information, resources, and news, you could check out our website at www.sidesix.club. All right, let's get back to the show and see what's going on there. All right, welcome back, everyone. We are joined tonight by Simon Lam, painter extraordinaire, purveyor of all things miniature. We're gonna do we're gonna do a quick roundup. Let's see what's up, what's going on YouTube. Let's take a look at what's going on here. We have Michael Rinaldi saying, "Hey, thanks guys, great work, Simon." From Knox Flight Club, wow, awesome. From Vince, ideas keep coming and it keeps getting better. Amazing build, Sir Simon. From Gundam Meister, Ancient Ruins Diorama. There's a couple of stuff here, obviously backlogging from a previous one. Skipping down here, from let's see here, Majin Jiba. Whoa, skull faces on each circle. Wow, of course, yeah, that's the details you get for that. We got Merritt Philbin, Metal Gear Cilantro. It is now cilantro. That is the correct word we are going to use for the Metal Gear. And let's see here. From Vince, cool hand-painted logos. And from Merritt, yes, Simon, a huge inspiration to keep seeing your posts, your work, for sure. Only makes me want to improve and continue trying new techniques. And that's what it's about, you know, basically improving from your previous build, learning from that. From Facebook Live, I just want to say shout out to everybody on Facebook Live right now. We have Edson coming in. He's saying Titans is a beast. Question from Nate. Actually, let's do a question here. Why is the Dom the best mobile suit? Why is the Dom the best mobile suit?
Because it's fake.
There you go. That's all you need. Thick boys.
Exactly.
Get some of that thick boys. From Edson, what tips can you give a fellow builder that just started painting using airbrush? Oh wow, okay, 2 points only on that just to keep the time going. Give 2 good pointers for tips on using airbrush.
Thin your paint properly.
Okay.
That's actually the only tips that you need, is to thin the paint at the right consistency, and you have no problem airbrushing.
Okay, all right, let's go with the next questions here. Ryan Lau is saying, them skulls are awesome. Xiao is a Google translation. No, we're not going to try to do that. JB is here. Oh, the build is crazy. Really love it when I saw it in person. And we got Roger McLean here. Wow, no decals. And then Nicholas Tayada Sanchez saying SideSix. Don't forget, guys, to check out SideSix when you get a chance. Simon also consistently posts there, when even things that he shouldn't be posting, but I'm gonna allow it for the meantime. I'm kidding. Speaking of not allowed to posting, let's go back to the arena. And we are going to continue with something a little bit different. We are going to sidestep away from the mecha altogether. And Simon, a lot of people also follow you on your social because of your figures painting. More and more recently, obviously, you've done so much deviation from mecha. We are now into the figures territory. What got you here? Like, what brought you to doing figures? What was your inspiration? What were some of your first figures like?
You're looking at them. Yeah, this is the little one.
Yeah.
So basically, what I want to do is that what can I bring into the mecha with other stuff like tank, cars. One of them is figure. Because if you look at the miniature painting, the community, they actually approach painting from a very different perspective. Like the way they do highlights, the colors always vibrant. And if you compare that to people who do military figure painting, that's a completely different beast altogether. Like they look for how realistic the skin is, the texture and everything. So there's a lot of interesting things. Like I'm always want to learn new stuff. And when I build, I always want to have something new. I always want to try something new on each and every single build that I do. I want to limit the variance, so I don't want to try 10 things in one build. I just only want to try one and then try to learn it. So you can see that I've been trying to do military figures. I would do animation figures, just to see what's there. And eventually, I want to bring all those skills back into my Gunpla build. And I actually dropped my airbrush for over a year just to learn hand painting, and you see these slideshows here, and this is all the result. Like one thing that we never really touch base on when you build Gunpla is the texture on the surface.
I'm just gonna circle back and freeze it right here. We have a bust of what looks like is it like an aviation pilot of some kind?
Right, the kamikaze pilot.
Wow. So what's the scale on this one? What were you experimenting in regards to your paint?
believe this bus is around 112 to 110. I forgot what the exact scale it is. Now, when I start painting this, I was drawn into this resin cast because of the expression on the face.
Oh,
So you
wow,
look
yeah.
at it, like, you see a lot of figures, but this is the one that actually has a really good, intense expression that there is telling a story. So you almost felt that, oh, this guy is doing his suicide bombing mission.
Right.
This is the last couple of seconds. But then when I start painting it, you actually understand what the sculptor is trying to express here, because he actually put in all different kind of texture for you. Because the like the goggles, it's obviously is glossy because it's a mirror glass, and then the cloth on the neck, then it's like a cloth texture, and it also has a leather head. So the sculptor actually planned all those different texture into the bust itself for the painter to actually paint them. So it's actually quite interesting when I was painting. I was learning all along the way. I was like, how do I actually paint a texture like cloth? How do I actually paint a texture like leather? So I'm learning while I'm painting, which is awesome. So this is one of my favorite figure painting job.
Oh yeah, no, it is amazingly executed. The next couple of slides, Simon, and we're just gonna go through some of these ones. You're still going for scale, so a lot of these obviously are tiny. You could see his fingers, see how the details on that. Like, what were you using to learn off? Like, was it just like trial and error, or were you actually following certain builders, certain painters, how they would do their process on this?
For me, most of them is trial and error. But there is one painter that I followed. He holds a channel called the Miniature Painting Maniac. If you guys look him up, he does a ton of tutorial for people who just wanted to start getting into painting, and he basically walk you through step by step, and that's actually how I learned a lot of stuff from him.
Wow, that's awesome. And actually, he sent me a link last night for that one. I will try to post that in the comment below. Really good stuff. Check out this guy's site and tutorial. Let's see here, lots of like details. So you're really going for like I'm looking at the samurai right now. You could see how big it is compared to the toonie. Yes, Canadian money, we have toonies, guys. This is for our American friends, our international friends. This is one of our $2 coins, and you could see the scale and detail on this samurai. Wow, really amazing on this build. What can you tell us briefly on this samurai?
Well, this is a gift actually from a good friend of mine, Ivan and Matt. They actually got it from one of the Japan show, the Suzuki, the Japan show. It was the gift they give at the door. So they knew I like figure painting, so they actually gave it to me so I can paint it. Now, when you start into miniature painting, I guess everybody has to go for this stage. You always wonder, like, exactly how small can you paint?
Right.
So how tiny can you paint? And so I figured, okay, let's try it on this guy where it has a pretty open back area, so that I can actually try to see how tiny, how detailed that I can actually do it. And I like the Japanese culture, and there's this famous painting, the wave. That most people would probably have seen it before one way or the other, and want to actually recreate that picture on the back of the samurai, and this was entirely done under microscope basically. So
oh my god, yeah, and we're gonna get more on the details of the shirt. Let's continue on real brief here for the next one. So now you're bringing more figures. This is now a hard graph you see that I'm looking at. Really cool stuff. So did you find that after all your practices, it's really something that you want to incorporate back into the mecha lore and in the Gunpla scene?
Oh, absolutely. So the this is the Visionette build. So I'm kind of mixing my military background with Gunpla stuff.
Nice.
So this is the perfect blend. So creating the Visionette of the basically capture a moment in time that something is happening in action, and I can apply, because of the scale, I can apply everything that I know from before to the tech world into this diorama.
Nice.
It worked out really well.
Awesome. The next couple of builds here, continuing on with the figure, we have a figure. I forgot the name of this one. You said Ariel on this. Is this an Ariel figure?
Oh yes, that's a gift for my wife's birthday.
Right. There we go. And I remember the build. You could see a lot more details. There's a whole bunch of stuff on his social, guys. Give it a check out. Description below. Let's continue on with the rest of the figures. There's a couple of more Mecha stuff going on here. again, similar feel. I could see the development of your figure painting. But one thing that I did enjoy watching was like going back to Gundam, and you have a couple of UC figures here. I believe there was an interesting story how you got these figures, right?
Oh, you mean the Amalo one?
Yeah, the Emerald, yeah, those guys.
Yeah, it was. I started when I first started trying hand painting. I first started on the Black TriStar guide.
Mm-hmm.
It came from a master grade, a really old dome kit from before. So they used to come with these little figures.
Yeah.
And I painted one, and I couldn't stop. And I really loved them. So I actually, funny enough, I actually did a call out on my Facebook page and say, hey, like I'm starting to paint this guy, and I had literally tons of people coming to me and say, hey Simon, I got one of this in my stash. I don't think I've ever going to paint it. Do you want it?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you see here. That's how I end up. I started with one, and this is exactly how I end up with.
Oh, and that is also a metaphor for all you guys that have a ton of backlogs. Don't forget, watch Backlog Builder Monday and Wednesdays. We're going to talk about killing those backlogs. Awesome stuff. So you've entered these in a few competitions. I remember seeing this in Heritage Con. Totally
That's right.
Different. And these the TriStar placed, I believe, as well, right?
Yep.
Nice. And here is the kind of like the menagerie of all your figures here. From this photo, Simon, which one would you say is your favorite?
I don't know. I love them equally. Like you cannot separate the TriStar, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, why don't we do another quick break real quick here. Let's take a look at what's going on at Facebook Live from Roger McLean here. Hey, Robert, I have the same... Okay, sorry. So, Robert, this is really making me want to venture into painting, but I don't know where to start. Roger, basically, he has the same issues for a long time. I think many people have had the same question. There are lots of tutorials online, YouTube and whatnot. But like, to be honest, just follow Simon. I'm sure he has like the whole photo step by step, and feel free to ask him any questions. We got Hayden from or Half from Van Plus saying hi. Ryan Lau, great advice. Let's see here. Edson from Philippines, I saw the wave art on Nissan Japan Arts. Okay, cool.
Yep.
And let's see here. Sin is also watching. So hey, Cindy. Lots of former builders, feature builders are on the show. That is awesome. Thank you guys for watching. Let's look over at YouTube real quick, see what's going on there. Just a quick comment here from Gundam Meister. Hell yeah, the Evangelions figure is insane. I could barely paint the mono eye I lost on my high grade Zaku. All right, let's see here. Let's get back to the arena for the slideshow. The next one here, I think we're going to be talking now about your current projects. There are two major current projects that we will be talking about in the next while here. This is the Dom Troppen custom.
Right.
So what inspired you to take on such a kit?
Most people who know me that I actually like Rambo Raya from the original Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I figured like, what if he didn't die in the battle? So if he continue and pilot a dome, what would that dome be like?
Oh wow, okay.
So basically, the dome is inspired by a blue groove. And then the backpack, the reps on the backpack is actually if you remember, the dome used to be riding on a platform called the Dodai YS.
Right, yes, yeah.
So that was the blue and red combo. So when I start miniature painting, sometimes they would tell you when you create your color scheme, you don't want the prime colors to be contrasting each other, so they'll be fighting for attention.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Doom and the Dodai YS is a blue and red, so by default they should be fighting each other. So I want to try to actually still make it work, and for me to do that, I've tried a couple like different saturations, different brightness, and end up that figuring if I'd actually desaturate the red to more like a dull blood red, it actually worked quite well together. So that's how this whole thing came about. And also I also want to try to do a lot of hand painting from now on, because now that I have gained the skill, so I want to try it on every single build. So I end up with that sculpt pattern that you see on the shoulder and the legs.
That is awesome. Lots of details happening here. So walk us through. There's a whole bunch of kit bashing. There's a whole bunch of panel scribing. There's a whole bunch of drilling. Like,
Right.
what was your workflow like? So we got the kit. What were some of the first initial thoughts that you want to do on the actual physical model before the painting?
Usually, when it comes to the design stage, the first thing I always look at is how do you do the panel lines, right? Because the most obvious modification you can do. Typically, what I'll do, I'll actually use a pencil, then just write it in and see if it works or not. The next thing that we usually look at is the proportion. Especially a lot of the older builds, the proportion are the legs are usually a little bit stubby, so you have basically has a habit of always extending the legs of any of the older build from Bandai's.
Right.
And the other thing that I would look into is probably if I can actually create a background story out of it, and then because once you have a story, that everything actually just comes together because it would make sense if you have a background for your build, right?
Exactly.
One of the major things for a dome is that my impression of the dome is always like a hovering craft that's always sliding everywhere, and to enhance that image, it would make sense to have some kind of propeller engine that goes with it to actually increase that hovercraft kind of image.
Right.
So that's how when I saw the tilt rotary engine from the Build Diver backpack, I was like, okay, this is it. I want it on my dome.
Perfect scale too, because they're both high grade on that.
That's right.
And when you were putting together the base, obviously you went for a minimalist on this one. It's just kind of like a platform for it to stand on and blend into. Nothing too crazy on that. Awesome. And is that like just what the cotton ball, and you just kind of like take them apart?
Also just cotton ball, yes.
Nice. Look at that, guys. Check out that technique. It is amazing when it is combined in such a way like this. Good stuff. And here is the back shot of the back propeller on this one. Were there any challenges on this build? Was there anything not fitting? Was there something you really needed to change? Something that stood out, say, hey, nope, this is getting out of here?
Not a whole lot. The biggest challenge was actually to get the tilt rotor to fit onto the backpack itself. And I kind of have to just like try to Lego it together to find a way that I can put two and two together, and it doesn't weight too much at the back, so the whole thing will always fall backward. So that was the challenge, finding the balance. A lot of time when you do modification, it's not just modding. You actually have to find to recreate the weight distribution so it actually stand properly.
Yeah. Was there anything holding it at all, or is this freestanding right now?
It's freestanding, yeah.
Oh wow. Did you glue the feet or anything, or is it still detached?
Nothing. One of the things I like to do on my build is that I don't like to glue things down, because I know, knowing myself, I kind of want to change the pose every now and then.
Yeah.
So I still want that playability when I do my builds.
Nice, good stuff. And the next scene here, Simon, definitely something different. Give me 1 second here, and we are just looking at. All right, here we go. Now I got the image up. This, I think, is one of the things that has been circulating on the internet, the social medias right now. This is the Eva project, the Eva girl. Very, very curious. I have so many questions on this one right here. Some questions off the top of the list here is like, where did you get this figure? What was your inspiration? What were your challenges?
Well, I picked up this figure from, again, my friend Matt. Like he's a collective of figures, so if I need any figures, I just go to him and see what can you give me.
Yeah.
Now this figure itself is actually it's pretty special because it's sculpted by a very famous sculptor in Japan called, his name is Hiroshi Hayashi, if I remember correctly. He's like the most popular figured sculptor in Japan right now. He specialized in putting a realistic face, human face, onto something like an animation character.
Right.
If you ever see, you probably have seen, he did a Hammond before, and he's doing some EVA girls right now with that realistic face, and those are all over the internet right now. I just want to be able to paint one of his creation, and this is a series that he did called just the Young Girls. I think this is number 2 out of that whole series. But then I don't want to just paint it. Now, another thing is, this is how I avoid burnout. So, because people who build Gunpla, a lot of time you're building Gundam, right? You know how the Gundam has that predefined look that's how a Gundam would look. So if you're doing 10 different Gundam in a row, but you technically still look at the similar design, eventually you might either get bored or you get burned out for doing the same thing over and over.
Right.
So I try to do different things from project to project just to keep it going instead of just having two similar projects in a row. So when I do figure painting, I go, okay, what other than Gundam can I paint can I use as a scheme on this one? And it really just popped in my head is Evangelion. It's another animation that is almost as classic as a Gundam.
Right. And did you grow up watching Evangelion? Did you like Evangelion growing up?
Oh, I love it.
Nice.
I watch every single thing about Evangelion.
Awesome. And the figure came out really well. And we're just looking at some of the slides with where Simon's hand is actually on the photo. You could see the size and scale of this. The most impressive part in this, and I wish I had, I think the next slide after this, the most impressive part here, Simon, is the shirt, the clothing, that theme that you have going for this this figure. How did you do it? What was going on here?
Well, first of all, the back, it's an illustration art that I digged up from Pinterest, and I look at it on the spot. I love this artwork. I want to recreate it. Unfortunately, because of the scale, I probably did about 10% of what the original is.
Right.
The original it's amazing. I can share that actual picture later on.
That would be good, yeah.
Yeah, but for the pants, because now I'm on the Evangelion theme, that I actually created the design myself, the pattern. I would have the green stripe on one side, and then the other side would be a contrasting red, but it's a horizontal stripe instead of vertical stripe, so give a bit of a design element to it. And then the runners also goes with the Evangelion theme as well. The design of the runners actually, I borrowed the design from an actual existing pair of runners that is actually on the market. You can actually buy them.
Oh wow. Okay, that's cool. So is fashion design your next platform? Are we going to be seeing a line of Simon Lamb wear with all bunch of mecha?
I don't know. It's possible. Yeah. You never know.
Awesome. No, thank you for sharing all your work with us so far, Simon. Why don't we do a, let's see here. I'm just looking through the rest of this one. Yeah, we're going to do a quick break. And then what we're going to do after the break, we're going to touch base on some quick tips and lessons from Simon Lamb. So stay tuned. 1 second. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Ariel from AO Mecha. I just want to let you guys know about all my other social media outlets if you haven't had a chance to check them out at facebook.com/AOMecha, on YouTube, youtube.com/AOMecha, on Instagram, instagram.com/AO_Mecha, on Twitter, @AO_Mecha, and on Discord, fairly new. That one is AO_Mecha, #3414. Anyways, hope to hear from you guys through any of those platforms. Feel free to DM me or PM me, as well as emailing me. My email is aomecha.info@gmail.com. Just want to let you guys know that this episode is brought to you by USA Gundam Store. Please check them out, www.usagundamstore.com, and save on your purchases when you use my discount code AOMecha10. All right, let's get back to the show and see what's going on there. All right, we are back here. Joining us tonight, Simon Lamb. We were just looking at all of his work. We have a special treat for you guys tonight. We're gonna do some, so what are we calling this? Like basic tips, new tips, different way of thinking, Simon Lamb version. That's how I'm gonna present that. But Simon, first photo here. I'm gonna let you drive through the rest of the slide. You let me know when the next one is. And here are some of Simon Lamb's lessons, tips, and tricks for you guys.
All right, so the first one would be, okay. A lot of people, when they just start getting into gunplay, when they start getting into modifications, one of the biggest challenge is, like, after I built it, when I airbrushes, I have to do a lot of masking so that I can actually paint it properly. So what I would suggest usually, that's actually what I do always, that I always pre-assemble my build. The reason why I do that is because that when you actually pre-assemble, you actually notice what are the areas that you might have problem when you paint it after you finish the seam line, after put everything together. There might be places that you cannot reach with an airbrush after you put it together and dealt with the seam line. So when we see stuff like that, you kind of try to find a solution before you actually start painting. One of the very useful way of doing it is what we call the C-cut. So if you look at the arms on the left here, left and right, the right is the original design, where you have to pick on the shoulder, and then you have that the joint near the arm. So typically what we do, we actually cut the joint open like a shape of a C, so that what will happen is you can actually snap it out. And once you finish the seam line, put everything back together, you can just snap it back in. So that way you don't have to do a lot of masking, so you can actually paint it properly. And what happened in the shoulder, instead of actually creating separated the piece together and put it into a magnet, really one of the strong magnets that you see nowadays. So instead of actually have the one piece design, it's actually separated with magnets. So after I paint it in a different color, I can just snap it back together with magnets. So that's something actually I just learned recently, and it comes in really, really handy.
Nice. Magnet, what are those? The next one here, Simon, we have your picture of your DOM, and you have a couple of circles on your details here.
I don't know if you can see the actual details in it. So what I'm trying to say here, when you do a lot of modification, like you scribe a lot on a build, what you're really doing is you're breaking down the panels into a lot of little sections. So you're making it look really complicated. A lot of times it gets to a point that it becomes very cluster. So look at, it's just the whole thing breaks into little parts. So when you design your modifications, sometime what you do, you will find a specific design that's eye-catchy.
Right.
You try to use that same, you try to repeat the same design in different location of the build, so to kind of unify the whole look when it's done. So
yeah, no, that's good. Like the little details. I mean, the littlest details can bring out the kit in such a big way. That is awesome. So something to keep in mind, folks. The next one, Simon, over here, it looks like you have a filling in of like shapes.
Right. Okay, so that's actually the base for the Evangelion girl that I'm working on right now. It's just that when you create a basic polygon shape, a lot of time there's, well, the perfect way is that if you measure everything out, you actually design and cut everything styrene perfectly and then put them together. There's sometimes you can actually do shortcut. Instead of doing the whole thing, you can just measure out the perfect dimension of the top and the bottom plate.
Right.
And then in between, you actually squish it with high density foam. So, because what happened is once you put the two together, the top and the bottom is your guideline, and then you can just trim off the high density foam so that it fills the gap and becomes a support in the middle. So then you can actually use that and cut your styrene sheet based on that shape, and you'll have a perfect fit instead of you have to measure every single panel out in advance. So that's a little shortcut that you can do.
Awesome. And continuing on with the foam, we have a base here, and looks like there's a couple of materials on this. Right.
So when you do a diorama base, a lot of time what people would use, which is very handy, is air dry clay. Now the problem with air dry clay is because it's dry. The reason why it's solidified because the water content disappears from the clay, so it include a lot of shrinkage when it dried. So if you create like something, what I'm doing here is a sand dune, it has a lot of volume. If the whole thing is air dry clay, when it actually dries up, because of the different time, because the outside we dry first with this inside still watery, right? Because of the different dry time, it will actually crack the piece out.
Oh, wow.
So typically you don't want to do a huge volume of air dry clay. So what you can do is, again, use the high density foam to build the volume out first, and then just do a thin layer of air dry clay on top, right on top of it. So this will prevent the thing from cracking very often. So
awesome. Good stuff there. The next one here, Simon, a couple of things. This is hand painting, and we were just talking about your processes. So I guess this is something that you want to convey to our viewers.
Right. So I talked about this earlier. When you hand paint it, especially using acrylic paint, if you're just dotting, the best approach is to thin it down nicely so that you're doing very translucent layer, and you just keep adding layer to build the color, so that until you get to the color you want. A lot of people got turned away because when you first applied it, it doesn't look solid. And people think, oh, I'm not doing a good job, then I'm just not going to do it. But just remember, you just have to keep adding layers until you get to the saturation you want, and that's when it starts to look good. So if you look at this picture, this is how it started from bare to the first layer. So you can see it's actually very watery and it doesn't look good from the beginning, but you just have to keep adding to it. And eventually, if you go to the next slide.
Yep, it's there now.
Yeah. So you see that the one side is done and you see the color saturation, and the other side is still with the dark purple color. So what you can also do is that you can take advantage of the fact that the paint is translucent. So you will do pre-shading just like what you do in airbrushes all the time, that you actually apply the dark color first and then you start to do the highlight colors and they build it up, and you can just push the shade to the side or wherever you want it to be, so to get the same effect as pre-shading when you're using airbrushes.
There's a quick question from Vince on YouTube about that. How long do you need to wait to add another layer?
For acrylic, if you're using something like Vallejo, those things, because you're thinning it down with water, so it will actually dry it up just like water. So typically when you put a layer down, you only have to wait about 30 seconds a minute before it actually dries up, and you can start the second layer. So it doesn't take a lot of time. And something you can also do is to actually use an hair dryer. It'll speed up the process.
Yep. I've used that one before. That was also for the GBWC 2017. Long story on that. Next one here, Simon. We have it looks like details, undercarriage of what looks like the hazel.
Yep, that was the hazel.
Okay, that's the hazel. Yeah.
That is one of the spots. Like when you do competitions, I've seen a lot of people actually miss this type of details under the skirt or in between a joint that we don't normally see. But the problem when it becomes a competition build, that the judges will actually bring the little fresh light and the little magnifying glass. They actually look for those details. So if you haven't touched it up, you haven't done it properly, then you're gonna get deduction because of that.
Oh wow! So guys, keep in mind your undercarriage does matter. Take care of that when you can. It is important. Get as much point as you can for the judges. Last photo here looks like. Oh wow! This is the detail. This is what you were talking about, drawing in the Evangelion detail at the back of your Eva Girl project.
Right. When people do hand painting, a lot of time we talk about freehand painting, freehand style. People got scared. Well, I can't paint, I can't draw, like I can never do freehand. But reality is, like, technically you can just use a pencil and create the design first. And when you do it on a pencil, you can do it as many times as you want until you correct it to the exact shape that you want, and then you're just filling in the blanks. So that's a way to do freehanding without actually freehand, in a sense. Yeah. So don't be afraid to do it. Just try it, and there are ways that you can make it easier.
Awesome. There you go, guys. Some helpful tips, advice from Simon Lamb. Good stuff, Simon. Thank you for sharing all of your amazing projects, your works, your wisdom, your lessons learned, and hopefully others are inspired by what you have shown today. Really good stuff. Let's do some quick questions. This is coming in from the social medias. From Xiao, how you decide the location of custom panel line?
It's kind of like an instinct, I guess, by watching too many cartoons when I was a kid.
Okay.
But one thing I do want to say, especially when people do scribing, there's actually a pretty good tip. I learned it from a long time ago. Someone who do model cars taught me about that.
Right.
When you start scribing, you usually use the thinnest possible scriber you can find and do a lot of scribing on the same scriber. Now, but in real life, for example, perfect example is you look at a car, the panel line around the doors and the panel lines on the hood is actually a different thickness. So they're not actually the exact same width. So what we do when we scribe models, we actually vary different width of the scribe lines to actually create that randomness instead of having the same width of the scribe line throughout the entire design.
Right.
So these are the kind of stuff that you actually don't notice, but you just don't feel comfortable when you look at it. Yeah, so those are the little things that we do that people might not notice that we actually done it.
That's awesome. One question here. This is from Instagram, Guntaku _Gundam _Colombia. Like this from our South American friends. Any advice on how I would limit the amount of brushstroke lines when I hand paint?
Oh, that goes back to the wet palette.
Right.
Depends on how you thin your paint. Because when you get really good, that you can actually lay down a really thick acrylic paint without hand brushes, no problem. But when you're just starting out, when you have a wet palette, you actually can control the consistency of the paint itself. So if you actually tune it down to more like watery, so what will happen if you actually spread water on a surface, it will actually even itself out. So that's what you get when the paint is very diluted. That's actually, you never see brushstroke if you actually paint very diluted paint. What actually creates brushstroke is that it's the water tension, the surface tension on the paint itself. So when you brush it down, because of the tension, it actually retains the shape of the strokes. But if you give it enough time, it will eventually spread it out and even out. But what happens is if the paint dries faster than that, then that bumpiness will stay forever. So that's why a lot of time, if you have to paint a really thick paint on, we use something called retarder. Retarder actually extends the amount of time that it takes to dry to let it have enough time to actually spread out on the surface. Or you can just use really diluted paint, just like what I do, and you actually don't have that problem.
Nice. Okay, well put. Last few questions here, Simon. Hopefully these are fast ones. Name one mecha you would like to be made as a kit that's not been made yet. What would be your thing?
I would not been made yet. That would be a work bolt, a worker robot.
Okay.
Which is exactly what I'm doing for my next GBWC build.
Oh, nice.
So they haven't done it, so I'm going to do it myself.
And that you could find all that whip and build on his all your Insta and your stuff. That is awesome. That's something 2021 coming up. Really cool really cool project coming up for that project. Last few things here. Blitz question. This is from Ryan Lau. Shout out to Ryan Lau. We were just talking about this earlier on. I'm gonna give you 5 questions. You're gonna pick one or the other. I'm gonna give you 2 choices. Five Blitz question here. I think we all know the answer. So this because you actually answered some of them. First one: Xeon or Fetties?
Xeon.
Okay. Melee or projectile?
Melee.
Okay. Master grade or high grade?
High grade.
All right. Figures or mecha?
I kind of want both. Mecha though.
Mecha. All right. All right. Last one here. Seafood or meat?
Meat. Seafood is not meat. Okay.
Awesome.
You need steak.
Oh man, Simon, it's a pleasure having you on the show. Where can people find you on your social media platforms?
I'm on Facebook under Simon Lamb, Instagram Chessy Monkey, CHESSY Monkey, and you can also find me on the Twitter. I believe it's also Simon Lamb.
Simon Lamb / Cheesy Monkey, all that description on there. Actually, before we do go, Cheesy Monkey, where did you get that name?
Oh, that's a long story. I told you I started gaming a long time ago, and this came from one of the very first graphic MMORPG called Ultimate Online, and I was playing on a server called Shakespeare, and on the Shakespeare we always refer the server as Cheesy, and my handle before that was always Monkey, so it's natural that I combine the two and become Cheesy Monkey.
Oh wow, there you go guys. Cheesy Monkey, Simon Lamb, follow him on his social media platforms. Do you have any final words for our audience tonight?
Well, thank you for inviting me, and if you like tonight's show, please join us again Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, AO Mecha live. All right,
9 p.m. All right, thank you, Simon. What a great show. We will talk to you soon. Simon, have a good night.
All right, you guys have a good night too. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, so that was Simon Lamb. What an amazing individual. What an amazing painter. Go check out all his stuff in his social media. Check him out in his Instagram, check him out in his Twitter. This guy is just amazing. Lots of ideas and experience to be shared with all you fine folks. All right, so just a quick thing about AO Mecha Live. Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, we're going to be streaming live 9 p.m. EST. This Monday is going to be a new backlog builder. What am I building next for this backlog builder episode? You're going to have to tune in and find out more info about the new coming builders. We have builders deck saved all the way to end of September and still growing. So I can't wait to share with you guys the next new builders, feature builders on AO Mecha Live. Again, this show is sponsored by USA Gundam Store. Visit www.usagundamstore.com and save with my discount code AO Mecha 10. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Let me know in the comments and PM me, DM me what you guys think of the show. Love to hear the feedback. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on this show so you guys get notification of all the new content that's coming up. Also, there's new contents coming up for the coffee break session. Can't wait to share with you guys. And for all your other contents that I've posted on YouTube, feel free to check them out. youtube.com/aomecha. All right, that is it for us tonight. Hopefully you guys are having a good Saturday. Till next time, take care. See ya.